So we have just tried to do 4 attempts at doing a live video on Facebook, and it didn't work. And it might be because our phones aren't compatible. I don't really know what happened, but we're going to record it here and then post it on Facebook afterwards. So I'm just waiting for her to pop on here. Hopefully that's happening. I'll check my phone. Maybe it's just not meant to be today. Hi, Annie. So we can't just see you just yet, and we are recording already, just so you know. Ask to start video.
Sarah?
Hello.
Oh my God. Oh dear Lord above.
We are. Huh? It's recording already, just so you know.
Oh right, okay, okay.
So that was quite the 27 minutes of trying to do a Facebook Live.
Oh dear, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. I was so looking forward to it. I still am looking forward to it, but I'm really sorry for everybody that was hanging about there waiting and nothing happening. We'll have to try and sort that one out for next time.
I don't know what someone said. It might be because our phones, mine's a Samsung and yours is an iPhone. I don't know.
What do you think that makes a difference? Well, it might do.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
we're here.
We're here.
Welcome. So I just
Thank you.
I'll just say that I'm doing these little series of chats with Aura Mediators or Aura Mediator instructors, if they're open to it. And it's just to spread the word about this work, because it's just been me on a soapbox.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to having other people talk about their experiences and how it's been for them and how it feels to, so I'll be asking you, like, what's your experience of having your transformation, like before and after, and then what was it like training as an Aura Mediator?
Yeah.
And just so that people get to know a bit more about you and where you are, because I can't be everywhere anyway, can I? So
oh, I don't know, you do. Good job.
But I'm sure I've not been where you are. So if
no, not a lot of people have, really.
So where have you? When did you train? Was it?
I trained last May.
May.
The end of May. Yeah.
It's not even been a year, but why don't you share a little bit about where you are and your name and your experience of Aura Transformation.
Right. Okay. So I'll try and keep it reasonably simple. So my name's Annie Holmes and I live in Chesham in Buckinghamshire, and that's where I've got a clinic. And apart from Aura Mediation, I am a body practitioner. So I'm a rolfer and I do NST. And the reason that I mention that is because it ties very well in with this work later on. And basically, I came to Aura Transformation completely by chance. Mm-hmm. In 2000, as probably most of us do, but 2017, my life started changing dramatically. And in order to be able to cope with that, what I started doing, because I thought it was the right thing to do, I started meditating a lot more. I started praying. I was doing affirmations. I was going out in the fields like you wouldn't believe, communing with nature, all in an effort to try and kind of keep things together. And I didn't realize exactly what it was that I was doing to my protection field, to all of this. But suffice it to say that this started beginning of 2017. And by February 2018, to put it mildly, I was a basket case. And I was in a terrible, I was in a terrible state. Anyway, luckily for me at the time, one of my girlfriends, Karen, who lives in Denmark, I was doing a lot of work with her on micro-biome health, and we were doing talks and all kinds of things like that. And she took me to her healer. Well, not a healer, actually. She was a therapist. My little dog's just come in here. Go on out, you do. Out. And she took me to see her. And she did what, I'm just going to close the door quickly. Right, out you go. So she basically saw the state that I was in and popped me on her couch, and she did what she told me was a balance. And basically what it was is I had completely lost all protection. And what that translated as is that, you know, I was then susceptible to everybody's energy. I was losing mine like there was absolutely no belief. When I got off her couch, I felt an awful lot better. We started talking, and she started telling me about Anni Sennov's work, and like it's like everything in my body kind of went ping, 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 ping. And I was telling her about what I'd done with other work that I'd done and everything, and she just said to me, "This is real 21st century stuff." So she mentioned Aura Transformation, but in passing. Got back, started reading absolutely everything that I could without really understanding what it was about. But I just knew I had to have this work done because just the balance had changed me so much. So 2nd of March, 2018 at 10:15 in the morning, I remember it very, very well. I went for my Aura Transformation, and I have to say that 3.5 hours later, I got off the couch and I was not the same. And I think the immediate changes that I felt, I had this incessant shutting in my head, and had done for, well, not just the period of, you know, that was in the difficulty, but all of my life. And I suddenly realized that there was peace. There was quiet. I felt grounded. And they were the very first things that I really took on board immediately. And then over the last 11 months, it's just been a growing process, a growing in consciousness, of awareness, you know, and lots of other things, you know, in the process.
Yeah, I remember you saying when you came, I think you came for a balancing with me, and you were like, my head was like Grand Central Station.
Oh, did I say that? Yeah, I remember saying that. Yeah, it really was.
A lot of people experience that. There's such noisy head, you know, like just so much busyness. And so part of the Aura Transformation is an unplugging from that noise, actually. And then rather than it being inside your head, you can actually decide what's going to be in your head. So there maybe is a period of sorting out, but I remember straight after my Aura Transformation, this epic quietness, and it was a slightly eerie, you know, just like, whoa,
yeah,
noise. It
is a little bit. And the other thing is, though, you see, is that although I knew about energy and stuff like that, because I've done quite an awful lot, you know, Aura Transformation to me translated immediately when this lovely lady Louise said to me, think of it as an upgrade. Think of it as an upgrade to your energy system. Yeah. And when I talk to people, I talk to them in terms of, if you've got an old computer, you know how confused things can be, lots of chips here, there and everywhere, you know, and it's slow and, you know, outdated and all that kind of thing. Aura Transformation to me was basically an upgrade of my energy computer. Mm. And what I found, it was so quick, you know, all the meditation and trying to get answers to my questions took hours. And then I have to say that by the time I'd got those answers and I'd been distracted as I was coming into my body kind of thing, I'd forgotten what the answer was anyway. So it was like, so you know, all this time.
Do you feel like you get answers? Like,
listen, do you know what? Now it's just the most phenomenal thing. And I actually wrote a few things down before we were going to do this talk. And one of the most precious things about this is how fast things are. I have a dialogue with myself. You know, inside of me is now my higher self, my spirit, whatever you like to call it, but I'm inside me. So I ask a question: should I do this? Should I do that? The answer's immediate. Yes, and with that clarity comes the solution to the situation immediately. And like, it's very, very fast. And it's not just really answers to my situation, but I have actually found that as a therapist, because when I'm working with people, now most of the time it's about being able to have a look at what's happening to them body-wise. And that works incredibly quickly for me as well as a therapist. It's really, really useful. I'll ask a question, what's going on here? Dum, 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 and the answer comes immediately. So from that point of view, it really has been amazing. It's made life so simple.
Yeah, I often say to people that work on others, like massage or therapists of any kind, really, is the clearer you become, the clearer your mind, your aura, your connection to yourself, the more it is easier to see where people are out of balance.
Oh, absolutely. And there aren't a million different, solutions. If you're going for a job, for example, do I take this job? Don't I take this job? Yes, no, that's it, done.
You saying that has made me reflect on, I just was thinking about the last, I think it's over 4.5-5 years now for me, since I had my Aura transformation. And I was just thinking about my decision-making process.
Oh.
And it's actually, like, I don't even have one, I don't think.
No. And that's so true. Yeah. Because, I was thinking the other day, because what I do in my work now as an Aura mediator, as part of all of this, I go for walks with my dog in the morning. I'm out for 2 hours. I take my phone wherever I go because I have so much insight, so much inspiration in all aspects of this. And it's just been absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that I realized only last week, was words that I used to use, like hope and belief. And I thought, this is old stuff. This is old time energy stuff. Because it's a knowing, you know what I mean, don't you? Yeah. It's kind of like you don't have to think about it. I must say, at this point, this didn't happen immediately to start with. Okay, it's a process.
You now and the May, there's already like a massive difference.
Oh, the one thing that I will say about the Aura Mediator course and the balance that I had then with you and Johanna.
Oh, the 4-hour, just to fill people in, it's a 4-hour session that all Aura mediators have before the training bit happens as a group. And you have that individual time. Some countries, they call it a grounding, and it's like another Aura transformation in a way, but it gets your system ready to become an Aura mediator. And it is, when I've been doing them myself now, because I'm learning to do it, and I did all of the last ones, I think, pretty much apart from one. And the energy is 10 times stronger than an Aura.
Oh, absolutely unbelievable. And I have to say, and I really have to say this, is that sometimes, I know because of the situation that I'm in at the moment, there's major changes have been going on in the last year, but they're just coming to fruition. I would say that at the point at which I studied, as I became an Aura mediator, that balance that I got then would have been worth it even if I'd never used this in my work. Yeah. Just for me personally was awesome, has been awesome. And, we go through, after we've initiated this upgrade with our Aura transformation, through this period of time we call being crystallized, going through crystallization, which the way that I view it, the way that I see it, is it's almost like a square that when you have your Aura transformation, you have this little corner that lights up. The rest of the square is made up of other tiny little lights that as you go through the process, you become more conscious and aware, which brings tremendous insight into your life and what's going on. So that eventually, when you reach crystallization, it's almost like this is a visualization. Everything comes on. Boom, 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 boom. And I've noticed this in the 11 months that I've been there, since I've had my Aura transformation. This is definitely what's happened, is that I have insights and awareness about things now that I didn't have just after my Aura transformation. And it's almost like it's this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You don't even realize it till you start getting there. But it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me, for however I needed to get here. Oh, it's
I think
changed my
what I
life.
can see and sense from talking to you now is that there's that, it's like that grounded fire in the eyes. There's no,
Yes.
it's not,
No.
you know,
No.
super grounded but on fire at the same time, and that's so Aura Transformation. Crystal clear and grounded AF, if people know what that means.
Oh yeah, you know something. I mean, it feels completely different. Well, one of the things that I'm really aware of, and certainly my work as an Aura Mediator, is the fact that I have to keep this simple. You know, it's easy to talk to people who understand about etheric bodies and astral bodies and all this kind of stuff. The people that are friends of mine, people that I work with in my other work, don't know those terms. So the analogy of the upgrade, the analogy of using, you're going from one computer, blah, 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 to this supercomputer works extremely well.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, people do understand what it feels to not have enough energy or feel knackered by the end of the day or repeating the same behavior again and again. Everyone sort of experiences that sort of stuff. So it's almost like, in terms of the computer, we're clearing the history and the cookies and the useless information.
Yeah.
And it's a fresh start. And like, I just literally, as we started fumbling around Facebook a moment ago, I got a message from someone that literally just had an Aura Transformation and was just like, I am so happy I've done this. I feel amazing. And I was just like, you know, that's why I'm doing this. Is so talking to you now is like the best job satisfaction ever. And then having messages like that is just like, yes.
See, the one thing that I'll add to this, which I think is absolutely vital, is I came to this not having read the book. I had no idea what was going to happen, what it was about, but I felt so bad that if somebody had said to me, you'll feel better if you jump off this cliff, I'd have jumped off the cliff.
Oh my God.
So my experience, I experienced everything without knowing that it was what was supposed to happen. And I think that the thing that really sticks out in my mind is that everything I felt once I'd had my AT, I felt like 100 times more than I would have done. And I didn't understand this. So for anybody who maybe goes through this, I resisted, you know, the intensity of it till I realized that I just had to give into it. And then what I realized was it went through me in a matter of minutes, whoosh, out, rebalanced. And I thought, wow, this used to last days. This used to last weeks. It's, you know, it's gone. It was fantastic.
I'll talk a little bit into that just in case people don't know. That with having an Aura Transformation is, you know, we're dissolving what we call the old aura, which has all these outdated apps.
Yeah, good way of describing it.
History and cookies from your life, the stuff you don't really need anymore. It's all sitting in your aura. It's like you've had a record book of everything that ever happened to you, and it's all in your energy field. And that's unnecessary these days because things can be different and quicker and easier. And you don't have to do 20 years of therapy to be able to have the experiences you've been mentioning and feeling like, I mean, I can't imagine who I would be by now if I hadn't had one. Like, I was in a state and I had no aura protection. But the thing is that when you dissolve all that stuff, it's not cheating and then having a fast track to heaven and like,
oh no.
It's about truth. It's about also coming. Like I was going to say, you can't hide from your shit, basically. When you have the Aura Transformation, there's all this new, beautiful energy of yours that maybe you haven't accessed before. Or like you just have more energy, more of your consciousness, more of your intuition and knowing of self inside your body. So it's actually a physical thing. It's actually to your body. It's not just like, oh, my mind's a bit of hypnosis and mind stuff. It's actually got no. So when all of that new, beautiful energy is coming into your body, the way I understand it is that it displaces all the old stuff that you don't want anymore. So we've cleared the aura of it, but it's still stuff in the body. The body is like much more old school about how it stores information and lets go of it. The mind and our consciousness, like we can do it like that and like, okay, I cleared that, I've sorted that problem. But actually it's probably still living in your muscles or your bones or your cells or something. So as this crystallization that we were talking about, so, you know, over time, the process Aura transformation is a process. It's not like a one moment thing, isn't it? You're going through a process as you've had your aura transformation, and that is literally bringing more energy in your body and clearing out old stuff you don't need anymore. So what I was going to say is you can't really hide anymore from all that stuff that you used to do, or the unconscious material, or so, it's all right there for you to see, and you're like, oh God, this feels horrible.
Well, you can't lie to yourself anymore, that's for sure. And if something doesn't feel right, you sure as heck knows it's not right.
And then
it's not right for you. You really do.
And then you were saying, some people do resist because they're like, feeling not good might mean something bad is happening. Whereas someone that's versed in emotional processing or spiritual healing might understand, okay, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. That's kind of like sometimes what happens. And
yes.
the aura transformation, all that stuff's coming up. So sometimes people are resisting, like, oh, this isn't right. Something's not right in my environment, or something's not right about my aura transformation, when in fact it's just like a detox reaction, basically.
Very much so. Yeah. I think what I would say here, though, is that sometimes I've heard, what you were saying about aura transformation being a process. That is absolutely it, because I've heard maybe people say it's a treatment. Oh, no. It is not a treatment. A treatment is something that you put plaster over, don't you? And you go, people come to me for treatments, ongoing treatments. This isn't. And I think that one of the things that people have to be made aware of and understand, that it is a permanent change. Now, there's lots of things that kind of go on. Maybe people resist and all that kind of thing. But it is an upgrading. And it's a bit like, once you've been upgraded, if you think about upgrading a computer, you wouldn't want to go back, but it feels very different. And I know that for people that I meet, they kind of go, this doesn't feel comfortable at the moment, and they want to try and go back, but eventually they kind of don't. But this is just I
actually did that yesterday.
Did you?
I was upgrading Canva. It's like a Photoshop-y type thing I use, and it said get the new version. I was like, oh fine, yeah, okay, upgrade. And then I couldn't find anything, and I was getting really annoyed.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't make this thing happen. So I'm actually already familiar with it. It's been about a day and a half, and I've been messing about.
It's a bit like that, isn't it, really? Which is interesting. But getting back just very quickly to what you were saying about the physical body. Now, I'm not going to share with anybody how old I am, but you know how old I am.
Oh, go on.
Go on. I'm 66. I'm 67 this year. I have never been so strong in my life. I mean, I've just taken up Taekwondo. I've just taken up trampolining. I'm about to start learning how to shuffle dance. I think this is absolutely fantastic. This all happened after I had my AT. I suddenly felt this extraordinary power in my body. Now, I have had to look after my health since I was 19 because I have problems with my cardiovascular system. So I've always been aware of my supplementation and getting the right nutrients in my body. And I've also worked out all my life, and I've done my yoga practices for donkey's years. And I think that was a really important part, because I understood very, very quickly that in order to really embrace the AT as much as I possibly could, I needed to be physically ready for it. And certainly at the time, I can't think of age. I think it's irrelevant, but you have to think in number of years, don't you? I was just blown away by how strong I was and how strong I am now. And it continues to actually get better and grow. And that's a phenomenal thing, actually.
People that have that experience after an aura transformation, the body just wants to move. And that's why I say it's a physical thing. If you look at my before and after pictures, it's like my face has changed.
Oh, yes.
The skin tone and the cells, like some life in the cells is different. And so for me, doing consistent yoga at the time as I had it done was a lifesaver, because I had to go through such a dramatic shift from where I was to where I am, that doing the physical activity, it's almost like helping the body take on all that new energy. It's your energy, but it's helping it process it, because you don't want it to happen overnight. And
No,
you
no,
you
it's
don't
too much.
sit there physically stagnant and all this shifting happens. It's uncomfortable. You'd feel everything and it'd be like, oh. So if you sweat it out, literally move through it, whether it's walking, dancing, even massage, anything physical is brilliant after an aura transformation, because you're helping your body shift, basically.
You know, one of the things a very important part of the work that I do is about gut health. It's about microbiome. It's about the bacteria, you know, this wonderful ecosystem that we have. And I have no idea at this stage how this work relates to that, but it does. And I feel, you know, this knowing, I know that there's a link with the life force energy. And it's because what you've just said about how different you look and how your cells have changed. My cells too have changed. There's there's something going on with the conscious state of the cellular tissue of the microbiome. This is something that I know I'm going to learn a lot more about as I do more research with this in the future, but it's vital. People knowing about this is vital, but this element that links to it, I know it does somehow.
Well, that's why I went to Mexico to watch Joe Dispenza, who's a neurobiologist and a physicist, you know, quantum physicist.
Yeah.
Because he was measuring people a few years ago. I don't think he needs to, because he's got all the research he needs, and it's all right. Book. But it's Becoming Supernatural is the last book he wrote, but it's basically measuring heart frequency, energy fields, brain coherence, all that kind of thing, and having tremendous results with the formula or the method of meditating that he teaches, and people are rebuilding spines and blah blah blah. But I went there with the eye of like, how is aura transformation working?
Oh, there you go, you see.
And I was speaking to someone that has been doing this many more years than me, and she was saying, because I want to measure, I have a few friends that have volunteered to be measured before and after their aura transformation, and then again down the line, and we're trying to be slightly scientific about it. It's a bit hard because of all the variables of weather, diet, life situations, but she said measure hertz, which is, I think is that energy frequency? I don't even know exactly what it means, but there is definitely ways of measuring this stuff, and it's so tangible that it'd be wonderful if we could have, you know, just little pockets of people trying to figure this out on a more scientific level, because I think it's exciting, because it is like how it's, I mean, it looks like miracles, and it sounds so like, whoa, you know, miracle.
No, it doesn't anymore, because the thing is that I have to say that, you know, in that field that I work in, I give talks about this a lot. And I know that what I was talking to people about even, I don't know, 6-7 years ago was nothing like this. Nobody knew this. And I'm of the opinion also that there's always a way of being able to measure to a certain extent. Everything that I do, I can relate to in energetic terms, like, you know, in sort of Chinese medicine terms, Ayurvedic, you know, well, we would talk to certain people about, you know, this energy does this. But then with other people, you have to be scientific. You have to say, okay, it's a sensory nerve organs and all this kind of stuff. So for me, my work is very much about being able to have a foot in each camp. If somebody wants to hear the science, they can hear the science. If they want to hear the other, they can hear the other. And I'm lucky, you know, having been around for quite a long time, you know, that I'm able, it has its advantages. It really has its advantages. It's the advantage of actually also getting back to this particular work of what it was like to live for 65 years in that old energy. Believe you me, I mean, you can really see the difference. And I'm able to actually look at other people's lives, if you like, their energy and how they work with their energy from that point of view. Almost like my body reading in my body work, I can actually do kind of almost like kind of energy reading, dimension reading, and that.
Because I think that a lot of people, they're like nervous to become an aura mediator because they're like, oh, I'm not psychic, or I don't have that.
No, but I'm not psychic.
You don't need any of that. It comes naturally as you know.
It comes back to this personal dialogue. You see, I think that in
intuition, you become connected to your intuition, and natural clairvoyance that we probably all have the ability to do does come in as the more grounded you become and the more you're observing other people's energy. It just becomes natural to trust what you're seeing and what you're feeling.
Yeah. And the other thing that I was thinking when I was walking the other day, I was thinking, you know, about my ability, the knowledge that I now have. And what I would say is that in the old days, in my old energy, you know, I would be getting what I would say would be guidance. And the way that I relate to it now is it's almost like there is this connection, this ability to connect through your dialogue, through whatever, it's almost like you don't go to your local library anymore, you go to the Bodleian. And it's almost like I find that in the work and the Bodleian in Oxford, or one of the big libraries in London, you know, whatever, you have this vast sort of vat of knowledge that you can actually access.
You don't even have to go anywhere.
You don't have to go anywhere. And it comes back to the clarity. It comes back to it. That's what it's like, this fast path forward. There's nothing blocking it. So I find, and I'm not clairvoyant, what I see it as is that I'm a clear channel to the information that I need through me. You know, sounds a bit, it doesn't sound weird to you. I think I know what I mean. But you know, before
I can explain it in a different way.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Which is different, but the crystalline aura that we are adopting during an aura transformation, that instead of you connecting to your own higher self or channeling whatever is out there, and then saying that you've got guides and you're hearing things and this is where they're coming from, instead of that system, you're having the new aura, which is encapsulating your spirit energy, but all of the crystalline facets of that energy, it holds the universe in it, you know, all the information you've ever had access to, whether intuitively or, you know, even cerebrally, is all in there. So you don't have to travel outside of your body or seek outside for guidance from others. You don't have to, having support and friendships obviously is beautiful, but I'm talking about that moment where you're looking for answers outside of yourself, or that you feel that you are lesser than a guru or a master or an angelic being or something. So instead of reaching out there to find your answers, instead of turning to I don't know, like big powers outside of yourself, you have access to all of that in the aura. So that's why information is so instant and quick. It's not only because you've got a clearer mind and feeling your own intuition, but there's just so much more information accessible in your own field without giving
do you know that is absolutely brilliant. That I kind of knew bits of that, but that makes it so much clearer. And I think that's the kind of language that, you know, I want to use and that I need to use with the people that I actually work with and people I want to work with. So in what I'm trying to do with this is talk to people in a very kind of everyday level. For example, I have a lot of people that I meet, strangely enough, when I'm walking my little dog. They've become friends, they've become clients of mine. And a lot of them have got children of a certain age, which means they're kind of in that energy, the indigo energy, which makes it very difficult for their parents to be able to cope with them. So a lot of the work, and I think I've heard you say this as well,
and the indigos cope with them, actually.
It's a two-way street, isn't it? I know. I see this really with all my grandchildren are either crystal or crystal golden, and that's a joy being around them. But I've heard you talk about this, about, you know, children and all that kind of thing. That's an aspect of work that, you know, that I'm really looking into and want to do a lot more work of. But I want this to become something which is just very easy for people to understand, to understand the potential of what this upgrade can do.
Yeah,
because it's phenomenal.
compared to when I was starting talking about it 5 years ago, just you know, I don't know, for some reason, generally, it seems easier to talk about in most places now. Whereas 5 years ago, people were like, you're nuts. Well, they maybe still think I'm nuts, but I don't think I am. But it has become a lot easier. And I don't know if it's a collective thing or just because some of us have been talking about it over and over and over again. But I do think that not only when you're in front of someone, you can actually just let go and allow the information that they would be receptive to be kind of pulled out of your system. Like you don't have
and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, for some people you do end up talking more scientifically or something, and then others you talk about computers, and others you can talk about cars, like upgrading your car. and then other people you can go full on spiritual, or you can see that they have no energy protection left, and they know it, they just maybe don't call it that. Maybe they just feel overwhelmed by people's energy, or they don't like going out in public spaces, or they don't like busy rooms, or they feel exhausted by the end of the day, or they have to meditate for 3 hours in the morning and they don't know why they have to keep doing that just to feel okay. So there's like so many ways of looking at it, and it's so hard to just put a sentence around it like, oh, this is aura transformation, because it has so many avenues and benefits. And when you come to the children, the crystal and indigo children, you know, that's quite, people are like, how can you say all children are, you know, this from those dates to those dates is that kind of child. And there's no line you can draw in the sand. I say that all the time. It's like a way of, so when we're talking about energy and consciousness, if you think about it, you can't even touch it. Like, well, you can, but as in most people can't really sense it or see it. Some people are more sensitive to it. But Anni Sennov, or people that write about this sort of work, or me and you talking about it, or when we're looking at someone's energy field, we're trying to put a flag, like a pointer, like this looks like this. But it's like an energy. So I think if we could be more fluid with our attempts at understanding consciousness and energy for adults, children's, but there is differences, and I think the indigo children, or indigo young adults now, have a particular way of behaving or living in this world, and it's difficult for them. They've come as the avant-garde, you know, they're like, this world is actually, they're here to say, this is actually really messed up, everyone. You know, we've really messed this up. And so they get a lot of flack because they're resistant to the status quo, which is insane. The status quo is not healthy or right for this planet, or for the microbiome, or for our minds at all. So they've come kind of going like, hey, this isn't right. And that's difficult in terms of how they relate to their families, their peers, the institutions they're involved in. And then the crystal children seem to be just a lot more embodied and a lot calmer within themselves, less likely to want to fight the old world, and just happy to start creating the new one. So the very different kind of attitude. And sometimes the ages in the book, or the ages that we've marked, it's not perfect. Some kids that, like my daughter, should be an indigo crystal, but she's completely crystal. I mean, just the way she behaves and is. So, you know, it's not, you know, and I think what maybe just for people watching that maybe don't know this bit is that when you have an aura transformation, you're upgrading you're evolving or upgrading the adult old energy system to that of the crystal and indigo children of today, so that they, not only are you on a similar frequency to them, they will be able to see you a lot better without all your old stuff, and you will be able to see them a lot better because you're not looking through your old stuff, you know, old patterns and old ways of doing things, old beliefs, ancestral stuff, karmic stuff, whatever it might be that's been in the way. But that's why I am a firm supporter of parents that have aura transformations, because, you know, they might write to me going, oh, you know about indigo crystal children, will you aura transform my child, or like, will you work on my child? And I always say, let's start with you, probably, because they're probably reacting to what's in your field. So definitely working with parents or teachers or people that are involved with children is brilliant, because they can have a much stronger balanced relationship with young people of today.
Oh, I'll tell you something. I mean, in my family at the moment, it's really interesting because my youngest daughter has just moved back from Australia with my 9.5-year-old granddaughter and my 4-year-old grandson. And I have my other eldest daughter with my grandson, who's 8.5. So the whole dynamics of the family when we're all together is completely changed now, because we have 2 crystal children plus me, who's been aura transformed, and a golden crystal child. And then we have the 2 who are in the old time energy. And not all of them is, because stuff has started breaking down. But you can see, because I know so much more as an aura mediator, you get so much more information about how these structures work. It's fascinating to see what is going on. And of course, if you were to actually apportion, you know, I would be with the kids.
But it's interesting when you understand more about it, you see it play out.
Oh, I find it fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because you see it, you know, the children, and the fact that just a little snippet, you know, this 4-year-old grandson of mine finds it very difficult. He's trying to grow into his body and he's finding it very difficult. So he doesn't want to wear socks. He doesn't want to wear any clothes whatsoever, because, and I can see him and he's like this and what have you. And Anni Sennov said that what he should do, he should be out there running, using his physical body so that his energy, you know, is balanced and his mind doesn't work all the time. And it's brilliant, obviously, for my family and my friends that, you know, I have this information now, which I really learnt to understand when I trained as an aura mediator. That's really, it is so valuable if you know, you really want to take this to the next level. And it doesn't mean that you have to be able to start doing aura transformations immediately. I certainly haven't, because sometimes it's a growth process within yourself. Yeah. But as and when you want to, if you want to. So it's worth actually doing it just for yourself, you know, as well as for work or anything else.
I mean, we were talking about it the other day that, you know, so some people actually, we've realized that some people just suddenly activate as an aura mediator, maybe a year, or like, you know, a year later, suddenly they're like, woo, I'm ready. And so it's just like you know, how do we give the best support? How can we, you know, I'm going to do like the monthly or bi-monthly aura mediator, just like chats on a Zoom, or, you know, just like different things as the crystal gatherings for aura transform people that I run, which is just to, you know, go through some of the tools and like what's going on, and a bit of support and explanation if things are going a little bit up in the air, then at least they know it's part of the process and not.
Can I ask you to do one thing for me while we were on here? Because obviously a lot of people that I know are going to want to actually watch the recording of this.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could just say something very briefly about the old time energy and the new time energy, so that, you know, there's an understanding there of you know, why it is that we're upgrading and all that kind of stuff.
How long have you got?
No, that's what I said, quickly. We, you know, so, well, maybe not.
Well, I'm like, I've got a video that explains it, but in much more detail. And I think, well, just the old aura, rather than the old time energy, let's call it the old aura. And the old aura, to me, it's like kind of like being in the Matrix program for it's like taking the red pill, you know, like take the red pill or the blue pill. It's a system that has organized human energy in a certain way for a very long time, and it's been allowing it's allowed outside energies and influences to impact on how people are relating to each other. So that's what Anni Sennov would call the old soul karmic aura. So karmic bonds between certain people. So you keep repeating the same way, you know, you feel like you've known this person before and you're like, this isn't actually very healthy for us, but we're going to try and make good go of it. So is this weird, why am I with this person and having children with them and setting up house? Because there was that feeling of like, I known you before, but actually it's not good for you. So that's kind of like a good example of 2 old auras feeling compelled to mash together. Whereas in the new aura, in the new time energy, it's people in their higher selves, so in their bodies, in their own sovereign individual consciousness, making decisions that feel right to their spirit, and then meeting spirit to spirit, or knowing to knowing, rather than this strange compelling or pushing and pulling of energies surrounding the old aura. I don't know if that's good enough. As a simple
one of the ways that I kind of describe it to people is it's a bit like a transistor radio, the old aura. You know, you've got so many different branches, you've got frequencies coming in, you've got frequencies overlapping. Do you know something? When I think about it, I don't know how I actually survived 65 years, because my life was in total chaos all the time. I have no idea who I was listening to.
Yeah.
Making choices and decisions was just impossible, but I managed it to get here. So.
And the new time energy to me also is this massive awakening and shifting consciousness. If you've not heard of it, the shift and awakening, then it's just people you know, are like just dissatisfied with how we've ended up running the world, and how is this like massive power imbalances, and why are there like poor people and really rich people, all that kind of, you know, like that we could go and take over that country or go to war with that one or whatever, all that stuff. That's very much old aura mentality. It's like a have and a take, and whereas in the new energy there's room for everyone, and it's more of a networking rather than a hierarchy of power and energy. And in the new time everyone has a place and a skill and a place at the table. So it's a very different way. If you had a room full of aura transform people trying to organize a village fete, it would not end up like it does probably, you know, with like all the power struggles and all that kind of thing. It would be everyone getting really into their own zone of genius and appreciating that someone else isn't going to work like them.
Yeah, very much so.
And not bringing all their baggage with them wherever they go, and slinging mud at people because they're unhappy about certain things in their lives. So it's about the end result, to me, like this big mass awakening of humanity and aura transformation, crystal children being all part of it, is this sovereignty, having complete and utter ownership of your spirit, your energy, your thoughts, your place in all it. You take responsibility for it, but you own your energy. It's like having it's like it builds mega boundaries energetically. Without, you know, you have the aura transformation, you will have a much stronger boundary than you've probably ever had, and that boundary is protecting your essence and your core and your gift and your purpose. So having the aura transformation is a learning curve for people that have never had boundaries or given all their energy away all the time, because they have to suddenly realize, like, oh God, there's something precious here, and if you come near it, I'm going to react, and I didn't used to.
Exactly. And do you know something? I made it my life task to be a nice person. And I realized that probably for many years that wasn't authentic. And when I had my aura transformation, I'm still a nice person, but I'm also a very aware one. And if something doesn't feel right, and I don't feel right about it, I will say so now. And that's much easier. If somebody does something and I don't think that that's right, I don't go, you know, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. We should be forgiving. That just does not even apply anymore, but it's much more authentic. And I am who I am now.
Well, for me,
it's a much better place to be.
I had no aura before, and then I had no boundaries, and that led to all sorts of complications and problems. But when I had suddenly a boundary and an aura, it was a steep learning curve. And I kind of built a fortress of boundaries, because I was like, I got it. I was like, I'm protecting this. And I kind of went like too far the other way, and that was fine. In my process, there was a time and a period of time where I needed to do that, to learn about my own self and my own boundaries, and maybe be a bit more rigid and hardline about, I'm having that in my life and I'm not having that in my life.
Yes.
And I don't know, some people probably found it uncomfortable, but having very quite hardline conversations like, just don't want that in my life, sorry. And if English people don't particularly like that. But now I'm a lot more relaxed about it. But because I have encoded that value and worth into myself, I probably don't have to say it.
No.
People,
because
it's my energy.
I know exactly what you mean there. And in the moment that you actually said that, I thought, yeah, I absolutely recognize it. It's a little period of training to start with, where you kind of know it. You have to verbalize it and you have to maybe show it physically.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, it just becomes encoded, where it just is. And you don't have to say anything because people just read it, kind of thing. And that's incredibly valuable. It's so, but that's what happens, isn't it, when you actually just go with it and you go through the process,
and that is
until you reach that's
like self-love.
Yeah.
It's like fiery self-love somewhere. But also, have you had people notice because as you do that, your radiance increases, your glow increases. I mean, that's part of the aura transformation, and people look more radiant and sparkly, more clear, their eyes are sparklier. But I think part of that is boundaries, is having those strong boundaries means that you're protecting something important, and that's you.
I think it's also something, part of it is something that you actually taught me and you teach, when in the crystal gatherings. And that's the importance of balancing after you've had your aura transformation. I do this, not religiously, that's the wrong word now, but I do this every single day. I do it before I go to bed at night, first thing when I wake up in the morning, or when I'm walking in the fields. And this whole thing about being able to actually pull back your own personal power is brilliant, because you said to me, because then you can choose who you're going to give that to, rather than like willy-nilly you're playing for absolutely everyone. You're never claiming your power back, so it dissipates. It's
like giving from an empty cup.
Yeah, and but you don't realize that you're doing it. But when you're conscious after you've had your AT, you understand and you balance. And I have to say at this point that people have learned to balance the way that you have taught to balance, do ever so much better than people who don't do it. There seems to be a little stagnant thing until they move forward again, but it's invaluable. It doesn't have to be as long as probably the one that I do every day, but nevertheless, I know some people do it very, very quickly. I like kind of identifying stuff a little bit more.
I mean, I've had people that haven't even done their own little self-balancing thing, pulling their energy back. They have not done it for a year, and then they had a session or something, and they feel the intensity of all the energy they've given out and they've not looked after. They're like, okay, I'm changed, I'm going to do it now. But people get so much out of doing it that I think...
But it is about personal responsibility for this as well. You can have you can initiate the process, but then there are things that you need to do in order to be able to embrace the potential that there is there, which is so fantastic.
And that is one of the main, something when you said you were resisting it, it was like when people don't play along with it, it's like they're refusing to change their habits or their thought patterns about things, or how things are done in the old time and the new time is different. There's certain things you do to get things or make things happen in the old time, it's just not going to work anymore in the new time. So if you keep doing that behavior, it's going to kick you in the bum. So people find, I think, sometimes like a crunchy period, because their old way of doing things is like, it's not working, and then they have to let go and be like, actually that's not how things work anymore. And things become so much easier when you just let go and surrender to that. And it just can be a little bit kind of like arriving in a foreign country without the book. Luckily I do the crystal gathering so that you can have a translation book for a bit about what's what. But just I think on a final note, unless you have more you want to say, but I had a lovely conversation with someone that's about to train in March. So there's already 6 people definitely signed up, and then there's 2 spaces max left if they get filled, and I can feel there's 1 or 2, so if you want a place, they need to sign up soon. But a lovely conversation I had with one of them. And she just said, what I loved about Aura Transformation is that it didn't say, come here for 10 sessions and we'll heal you of this problem. It's saying, come and have your Aura Transformation, then it's up to you to work with the process and let stuff go and change habits that need changing, and to live your truth and your purpose, because you can't hide from it, basically. But I really like that this isn't a magic wand. We're not claiming to heal
No.
anything. We're giving you, we're pressing the start button on a beautiful process that you can't really mess up. You can maybe try and ignore it, but it's still going to have benefits at some point. And, you know, make the most of it. Make the most of it.
It's true, isn't it? It's what we said, is what we always say, is that Aura Transformation is not going to solve all your problems. What it is, it'll give you the clarity to actually be able to see more clearly what you need to do. So whenever I have a situation that comes up in my life now, it's not kind of, oh, what am I going to do? It's like, what's the solution to this? It's very grounded. It's very quick. What do I need to do to resolve this problem?
Yeah.
That to me is worth millions. You know, it really
I say the same. Whatever happened to me since my Aura transformation, millions. I would hate to think where I would be if I hadn't done it.
I've really enjoyed this, Sarah. Thank you.
It's been great. And I'm doing another one with a lady. I think she's just moved from Sweden to Oslo, called Monica. Can't remember her last name, but we're going to be doing one in about a week's time, so I'll put that up soon. And I just want to thank Annie for coming on, and all the messing about with Facebook. We found a solution.
I'm just so pleased that we managed to do it in the end, because I've just absolutely loved it. And maybe we'll get to do something one day when I become more technically efficient.
I'm very happy to do it again. I'm sure there'll be different things to talk about, and I just need to make sure I say all the things. So where are you again?
Chesham in Buckinghamshire.
So people can find you there. We'll post your, you know, site or whatever you've got, details or email or whatever, under the video, so that people can find you if they want to work with you.
Okay.
Just to say that the Aura Mediator course, the next one in the UK, is the 24th of March. Yes, it's 24th. No, 26th of March. And there's only 2 spaces, if that, left. Then the next one will be end of June, in a location to be announced. And I'm in Lancaster, 17th to 20th, up north, 17th to 20th February, and then I'm in London in April briefly. So if anyone wants to get in touch, do so. There is a book to read before. Oh, there is another announcement. There is a book to read before you have an Aura transformation, called Balance on All Levels by Anni Sennov. And the book is not the easiest read for everyone, but some people absolutely love it and get a lot out of it, and it is really beneficial to read. But I have found out from the Swedish Aura mediators that you can actually, the prerequisite now is actually 51 pages that are throughout the book, so that you can have an Aura transformation without reading the whole thing. So for the people that struggle reading a lot or don't want to read it and all that kind of stuff, they've got 51 pages to read, and then that's enough to carry on feeling informed about the Aura transformation. I would recommend reading the whole thing, so you know what's, you know, get the whole picture. But I think that's a really brilliant announcement, because it just opens the doors for more people, I think. So I will be June is actually helping me translate it, hopefully, so that, because it's all in Swedish at the moment, but then we'll find out which chapters that is. But thank you so much, Annie, and it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, Sarah. Thank you so much. I hope to see you very soon.
Yeah, me too. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.